everyone, and welcome to yet another Wellness Wheel Wednesday. I am here today with DeeAnne Riendeau, and she is from Your Holistic Earth, and I'll give her an opportunity in just a few seconds to chat about what we're going to chat about. I'm going to start off a little different today with this lovely chart.
Be here, Vera.
Thank you. That's right. And I'm going to use this chart to help explain a little bit about chiropractic and then a little bit why Wellness Wheel Wednesday exists as it does. Okay, so this is a fairly typical chart that you might find in chiropractor's office, maybe even a physiotherapist's office, not sure about that. But so what it represents is that we have here our brain, and this is the higher cortex part where our thoughts and all the higher functioning brain features are, and then the lower portion of the brain, and that's where really a lot of basic regulatory things occur, like our heart rate and breathing, and all those reflexes are actually happening in the lower portion of our brain and the brain stem. But that becomes the spinal cord, and as you can see, it is housed by the spine. So this is why primarily chiropractors are more focused on spines to make sure that you're feeling better, because as you can see, all the viscera, our organs, are getting fed as to what to do from exiting the nerves from the spine. But so this spinal cord actually becomes super important to our health. And the way that it is tethered in there, so that it's tethered, there's little ligaments that suspend the spine at the very top and at the very bottom, and that really creates the right tension on the spinal cord in order for the frequency of the nerves exiting to be just right, so that these organs are getting the right neurochemicals released. Okay, so let's say we're exposed to lots of stress, and that stress can come in the form of sitting in a desk all day long, but that stress can also come in the form of chemicals. So let's say we're eating a poor diet, a very inflammatory diet, or maybe we have some health habits, or not health habits, but the opposite, poor health habits of smoking, drinking, or drugs. So there's some chemical toxins that are occurring. And emotions, let's say we have lots of problems with our marriage or our children, aging parents, problems with our finances, discourse with our job, or some horrible thing that has happened to us recently. So stress is stress. Whatever's going to happen, we're going to trip this general adaptive stress response. And what this does is, like a cat, it arches its back. So we have this hyperreflexive flexion response. And you can see that if we start to go this way, there's a lot of tension that's actually placed on the cord itself. Now, generally, we can let that stress go after we've learned what we need to learn from it. But let's say that stress was so big, we just couldn't let it go and we stay a little stuck. That becomes a problem because we've lost now these primary curves, the way the spine is looking, these curves here and here, and we've made it basically just one big curve like that. So if we stay like that, that really changes the frequency of the way these nerves are exiting and the neurochemicals that get released. That's a problem, especially for all these vital organs. They can't always operate under a stress response. So what your body will do is it will create lateral curves. It'll create that high shoulder, the high hip, even add some rotation, and that hurts. That's a biomechanical disadvantage. You're not holding gravity right or ground reaction forces, and that's going to hurt. So we can address those high hips or those high shoulders or really rotated body, but it's not really going to make us feel totally 100% better, and it's maybe not going to change the way that our organs are functioning. So my job as a chiropractor is not so much to look at these little guys here, but help the spinal cord feel a little better by communicating with these little ligaments at the top and at the bottom. And that's the difference with tonal techniques such as torque release, the technique that I practice. And it's done with a very gentle finite tool, and it is very gentle and really cool. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about TRT, you can certainly drop us a line. Some comments in the bottom there would be great. But anyways, let's go back to that. So we have physical stresses, chemical stresses, and mental emotional stresses. And that's really why the Wellness Wheel exists today, is because we can help people physically move better. Sure, there's exercises that I can certainly recommend that will help rehabilitate this posture. Chemicals, I'd recommend an anti-inflammatory diet in order to manage some of the inflammation from foods. But mental emotional is a little tricky because that comes from a myriad of problems are, as mentioned, finances and all that. So that's why I bring regularly someone to Wellness Wheel Wednesday in order to kind of help explore some of these mental, emotional stresses, where they're coming from, and what people can do or use as service. That was a bad sentence, but so people can learn about a certain individual and their service or product that they provide to help manage some of those mental emotional stresses. So DeeAnne is from Your Holistic Earth, and DeeAnne has a really great story as to why and how she created Your Holistic Earth. So can you tell our viewers a little bit about that?
I would love to. So I was chronically ill when I was born. I was immunosuppressed. I was getting every virus and bug under the sun. And so Mom brought me to the doctor, and the doctor said, here's some antibiotics, and here's some more antibiotics, and here's some more antibiotics. At 5, I had surgery to get my tonsils out because they didn't know what else to do with me. And what that really did is, being sick is one of those things where it's like, okay, you can either become a victim in it, or you can, become victorious in it. And I really chose at a very young age that I wasn't going to let anything stop me from doing what I wanted to do or having a good quality of life, right? Yeah. And so I made that decision, and it compelled me to work in healthcare. So I dedicated my entire career to healthcare because of it. Yeah. Became an EMT, a dental assistant. I taught in both of those fields. But what was really interesting is when I got into my 20s, I'd been diagnosed with IBS by then, and dealing with that sort of stuff, and it reared its head. Here I was teaching my students to talk to their patients about prevention, and yet I was really struggling. You know how we stuff things away, where we just like, I'll deal with that later, and we ignore it and
this done.
And yes, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, I can't deny this anymore. I've got to deal with it. And I was in a lot of pain and discomfort. I was not going out into public as much and all those things. And I love people, so it was really impacting me. And I made a very conscious decision that I was going to be accountable for my health, that I was going to do something about it. So I started looking. I started looking for natural alternatives, for, as much as I could find. I started educating myself. And I actually found the process really frustrating. I felt really alone. I couldn't find what I needed. I tried all these different things and nothing seemed to be working. Right. So it took me a long time. Eventually I found a homeopathic doctor who kind of got me back on track and taught me about food and some of those things that I really didn't know much about in terms of my own health. And that was when I had this epiphany. How do we bridge this gap? There's a problem here because people, if I'm having trouble accessing it and I work in healthcare, what does the average person have to get access to that care? Right? To the alternative, the natural care, and know what's out there. It's so overwhelming too, right?
It is.
And so I had this light bulb moment that said, you need to streamline alternative complementary medicine with the public. So I had this idea, didn't know what to do with it. Fast forward a health administration degree, a career in real estate investing of all things. And guess what? I got sick again. I got sick again. And at this point I got diagnosed with fibromyalgia. And so I was laying in bed and I said, okay, God, here I am back sick again. I know I've got to realign my life. I've got to get back on it. I saw the whole vision. And I was so compelling and so moving for me. I woke up the next morning and I started Your Holistic Earth.
Wow.
We're now 4 years old, and we manage about 600 health-related businesses in Western Canada. And what we've been able to do is help the public find the resources. So we have a bunch of programs for the public. One of those things is our Holistopedia. It's a holistic encyclopedia.
Wow. Check that out.
Yeah, it's an amazing resource. I mean, you can learn about all sorts of things. What is color sound therapy? What is chair massage? Castor oil packs. You name it, it's in here. And this is a great tool. So we provided tools to remove the barriers for people. We have also created a savings card program and a subsidized program for people who can't afford it.
Oh, that sounds really
Our mandate was, let's get rid of the barriers, right? What were my barriers? My barriers were time, energy, and money. And so those are the types of things that we've tried to remove for people. So people can come to us, they can use a search engine, they can check out the Holistopedia, all sorts of stuff.
So if I was to go onto Holistic Earth, how do I get this?
This is a free download. So anybody can download this. It's free for them to access. Again,
Perfect.
removing those barriers. If people want physical copies, they are for sale on our website as well, but they can download them for free.
So question. So this looks like it's a great manual here. This is great, and I love reading about it. But let's say I'm totally new. I'm very frustrated. I've been to this specialist, that specialist. We're talking in the medical field.
You're starting to lose hope.
Right. And I'm like, I'm ready to make the dive into alternative. But if I look at this, even this is overwhelming. Like nutritional coach. I don't know whether I would. So what if I'm new and
you need a starting point?
Right.
Yeah.
So what would I do?
That's a great question. And we have this program called Health Match, and it's just like almost like a dating site, but for your health, right? We do the process actually one-on-one with you. So you fill out an assessment profile for us, and then what we do is we actually go out there, we pick up the phone, we find out which practitioners will work for you or that you haven't tried, practitioners that deal with really complicated things or have dealt with your particular challenges before, and then we match you up with them. Perfect. So then that way it takes away some of that stress and unknowns, right?
This is beautiful, but it's just, I can see how it could be like, oh no, now there's so many
Now I still don't know where to start. Right, exactly. And that's where we come in. We want to make sure that people are really taken care of.
Right, for sure.
Absolutely.
And so let's say our viewers are not from Edmonton. Where is Holistic Earth now located?
Yeah, so we're across Western Canada. We're in Winnipeg, Saskatchewan, BC, and Alberta, of course.
Wow.
Majority of our network is in Alberta, but we've expanded to those other areas, and we continue building community, because at the end of the day, it's about us coming together collectively to make change.
Yeah.
You know, you and I had talked about this idea that, you know, we have a good healthcare system. We're very lucky to have the healthcare system we have, but our existing healthcare system was set up based on acute illness. And right now we have a chronic illness epidemic, right? Everyone has fibromyalgia, IBS, and all of those things, right?
Which is almost like a statement like, we're not quite sure what's wrong with you. We understand that you're in a lot of pain, but it's not really concrete. That's
right. And so how do you find solutions if you don't really know what the root of the problem is, right? And so that creates some challenges. And so when we look at that, you know, someone said to me the other day, they're like, we're living shorter and dying longer. Meaning that
great statement.
Isn't that something? Because it means that our quality of life is actually going down. Even though,
yes, we're living up to 100, but who wants to live up to 100 if you can't get out of bed for the last 20 years? Like, it's functional living. So that's part of some benefits of a complementary alternative therapy like chiropractic. That functional living, where at 80, sure, if you want to go for a 5-kilometer hike, you still can and do it joyfully.
That's exactly it. And you know, when we're in this age, more technology, more education than ever before, you know, we should be living better quality life. And we're still seeing a lot of people that are really struggling. They're struggling especially with mental illness. They're struggling with their physical illness.
Which is emotional.
That's exactly right. And then we've also got this spiritual aspect that we really don't talk about in our healthcare, right?
So which is one of the branches of the spiritual, and you actually alluded to that quite nicely. And I do find that people with that connection with whatever word you choose to use, source, God, spirit, and that really I'm looking to highlight that in the wellness wheel, is that really is key. I've just generally, a clinical observation is that people who have that connection and develop it, it's more the relationship, it's that relationship trust, like we do with each other. That's when life begins to really flourish.
That's right. When we honor that part of ourselves, you know. And so it's looking at all of those aspects, right? And that's where you come in. You look at all the aspects, because health is multidimensional. We know that, right? It's
not so much that you sit at a desk, although that is a contributing factor. Like, we're not going to deny it. I'm not going to say that's not a problem, or that, slipping and falling hurts. But it's health is deeper, especially if it's a chronic nature or a very recurring nature. There's something else going on other than physical. So that's why it's really great to have such services as Your Holistic Earth. So for the people who are fed up and are looking to explore, so this is such a wonderful gift that you have created for definitely people in Alberta and all of Western Canada, so that we can begin to explore better health options, so that
and really push that paradigm shift.
Yeah.
Like really, we are accountable. This is a vessel, you know, and you know, we'll spend $2,500 on our vehicle insurance. This is a vehicle too. What are you spending on this? What is your insurance on this? And yet, you know, we don't put aside the money for your well-being. That should be part of your budget every month for fun. Also should be your well-being. And you should be putting money aside every month for that.
Because if you don't, it's kind of a path. So if you don't do a little bit now, you won't really notice the difference. It won't really matter if you invest money or invest in your health. But then, at one point it becomes divergent. Yeah. So if you decide here, I should probably take care of my health, that is going to be so much more expensive. Absolutely. So it's that little baby steps in the beginning, and you might not seem like it's important now, but you don't want to be here where that gap is so big and a real serious health problem that can,
And that's typically what happens, right? We wait until the very end, right? And we've been conditioned to believe that. So there's no criticism attached to that, but we've been conditioned to believe that we wait until it's almost too late or it's a problem, right?
That's the wonderful thing about pain. Pain is people get afraid of pain, but pain is actually a good friend, because you know, the thought of health, well-being, lifestyle, these are great words and most people will agree with it, but what are the action steps behind it? Many of us don't take those little baby action steps when we're aware that wellness is important. But what pain. There we go. No.
Where are we going with this?
Pain really is like, that's when we have those life crises, like the financial loss, the job loss, or whatever. It's like the hammer. It's like, hey, pay attention.
Pay attention.
We need to.
It's a big indicator.
So why is that scary, or why be mad at that? Or maybe it is that hidden blessing, or the silver lining is that it forced us to look at this so that we can actually properly take care of it. Maybe that's a great flip side to how to look at pain. It's not so evil, even though it's disruptive and annoying, but it's an indicator that
it's a redirect, it's a catalyst, which is, you know, sometimes we need that. However, that being said, wouldn't it be amazing if we got into this mindset of really focusing on prevention?
All of those.
Because I want you guys to think about the last time you were sick. Think about what became a priority when you're in bed and you're puking your guts out, or whatever that illness is. What becomes a priority for you? I bet you it's not the dishes. Correct. I bet you it's not the job. I bet you, your health becomes a priority.
Right.
So how do we change it so that we can then be healthy on a consistent basis? Maybe not get to that point as much, and be more preventative in how we move through life so that we can have a better quality of life. Yeah.
And I'm sure there's someone in this book who can actually help us with designing that, even.
Absolutely.
So that it really does require coaching, especially if we're not used to it. Is that, you know, these daily little things, daily little steps that we can start taking. And food is one of those, you know, managing our mental emotional stresses and learning how to move a lot better.
Sleep, water.
All of these things that we just kind of think we know. And then, but they're limiting. And so sometimes people make poor decisions because I'm going to use the word ignorance, and it's not so much that it's a bad thing. They just really didn't know what they didn't know. And so that's why these services ultimately exist.
That's right. We don't know what we don't know.
We don't know what we don't know.
Well, I want to share with you one quick thing, because I know we're at our time because the bell's going off. But Dr. Vera has been nominated for Entrepreneur of the Year. And so I want to make that announcement because we've got this convention and awards program set up for Calgary on May the 4th. It's not very far away, just over 2 weeks. And it is for heart-centered business owners. What does that mean? Amazing. It means people that care about community, they care about making sure that their clients have what they need, but they also believe in building sustainable business, because if we build sustainable business, we can help more people. And so she's been nominated for Entrepreneur of the Year Award, and that this event's on May the 4th. We're still accepting nominations, so if you know of a brilliant health provider or even just a heart-centered business owner, you can nominate them until I think it's April 25th. I'm going to say April 25th. And we've got tickets for this event. It's a full day convention. We've got 8 brilliant speakers. You're going to get so much value out of the day. You're going to leave there feeling inspired with tools and techniques to bring your business to the next level. So if you're interested in that, please go to our website, yourholisticearth.ca. Check it out on our calendar, and you'll see more information for that there. So congratulations to you. And thank you for having me here today with you.
Thank you. And stay tuned next week for another Wellness Wheel Wednesday. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.